module 4-നകത്ത് ഒന്നുകൂടെ ഓടിച്ച് പറയുന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ. Why we need an information security policy? What are the information security standards? Introducing various security policies and their review process. Then IT Act 2000, penalties, adjudication and appeal under the IT Act 2000, offences under IT Act 2000, Right to Information Act 2005, IT Act 2008 and its amendments. അപ്പം എന്താണ് what is the need for an information security policy or ISP? So compliance is a critical organizational asset. Loss or misuse can cause financial loss. So formally approved document by top management. So it defines a protection of the information and systems and establishes the security vision, objectives, principles and responsibilities. Foundation of the organization's security framework. അപ്പം ഇതെല്ലാമാണ് എന്താണ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ സെക്യൂരിറ്റി പോളിസിയുടെ ആവശ്യം എന്നുള്ളതിനെ പറ്റിയാണ് പറയുന്നത്. ഡേറ്റ, ഫിനാൻഷ്യൽ ലോസ്, ഒരു അപ്രൂവ്ഡ് ഡോക്യുമെന്റ് നമുക്ക് വേണം. ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ ദ സിസ്റ്റംസ് പ്രൊട്ടക്ഷൻ എങ്ങനെയാണെന്ന് ഒരു ധാരണ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കണം, ഒരു ഡെഫിനിഷൻ ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കണം. ദെൻ വിഷൻ, ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവ്സ് ആൻഡ് പ്രിൻസിപ്പിൾസ് ആൻഡ് റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റീസ് ഓഫ് ദി സിസ്റ്റം ഈസ് നീഡഡ്. Then it is the foundation of organization's security framework. Why information is critical? Because it may lead to financial loss or any legal liability. It can lead to legal liability. And reputational damage. It can cause reputational damage and operational failures. അപ്പോൾ ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ക്രിട്ടിക്കൽ ആണെന്ന് പറയുന്നതിൻ്റെ കാരണം. നമുക്ക് ഉണ്ടാകുന്ന ധനനഷ്ടം, മാനഹാനി, സത്യം പറഞ്ഞ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വൈ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ഈസ് ക്രിട്ടിക്കൽ. ലീഗൽ ലയബിലിറ്റി, ഇറ്റ് മേ ലീഡ് ടു ലീഗൽ ലയബിലിറ്റി and it may cause the reputation may also get damaged and the operation may fail. The whole system may fail. Why it is essential? Because protection of information is necessary to prevent the unauthorized access or the modification of the data or the destruction of the data or any information. And it goes with the data protection laws, and it may manage the risk, identify the risk, and it provides the guidelines for mitigation. And we need awareness among the people. The people should also know about their responsibilities while using the internet. And if any incident comes, that incident need to be handled properly by the people. The people should also be aware of where to approach when something happens to the information. Then why information security standards are there? It is actually a framework for government organization. We always need a framework for giving the laws or to set up the rules and regulations for browsing the internet or for transferring the data through the internet. There are some rules and regulations to be followed, and so we set up a framework or we set up a plan to protect the information. And we need to support or protect the confidentiality, the integrity and availability of the public information, so the citizens can trust in the government, that their data is secure and private in the hands of the government. And the information security standard should be applied to all the core government areas. And wherever we share the data, the security standard should also be applied to the core area. And the IT organizations need to be aware of the existing laws which apply to their specific industries uh, based on the type of the data which is transferred through the internet, or which type of data they are handling, where there are different rules by the IT, and all IT companies should be aware of their own specific laws. And it helps to deal with the security threat and risk assessment, how we can deal with the security threat. And the people, the organizations should maintain the documentations, the different levels of documentation to help secure their environment. Based on the priority, there are 3 levels of documentation, and to secure when the organizations should be aware of all the levels, which helps to secure their environment. And the information security policies are high level statements or rules. They are actually the rules of how to protect the people and the system. Information security standards are basically a rule which helps to protect the people. And for that, we set up a framework, and inside the framework, these rules or regulations are incorporated so that the people are protected while using the internet. The information security also helps to manage the security risk and implement security controls, which helps to meet the legal and regulatory requirements. The security risks are known by the frameworks, and so they also implement the protection environment, so that the people can use the internet and its properties, and also the methods and its possibilities in a that is why the Google Pay, when we are using the Google Pay, there are some security environment created by the app itself, so that the people can safely use the app, and they can securely transfer the data. Then we see the importance of information security standards. Information is actually the strength of the organization, and it is a valuable information. And also, we need to give the control for data integrity and confidentiality. Integrity means the data should be same everywhere. Whenever we send the data, we make sure that the same data is received on the other side. And we need to protect the data and which is used by the organization. And the data breach, if happens, can destroy the people's life, and it may harm the business and may cause significant damage. And these are the standards and guidelines of used in the cyber security. We need an agreement and a formality. Example is NIST, and we need provide a guidance but lack strict formality. Guidelines, we provide a guidance very much clearly and all, but even though the guidance is provided, they are flexible and it lacks strict formality, so the breaches may happen. ISO IEC to 27000 series, which is the global standard for protection of the information. And it is ISO IEC 27000 is the most recognizable series for the data protection or information protection. And it is introduced by the ISO and IEC. And it was actually initiated by BSI as BS 77999 in 95, and it was later adopted by ISO. And it includes ISO IEC 27000 family of standards. It is actually a standard family of standard, and we can see different sections coming under this one. So ISO IEC 27000 is the most recognizable standard standard for the standard name of the international organization for the standardization of all the laws, and it was actually initiated by the British Standard Institute through VS, British Standard, in 7799, VS 7799, which is an information security management system. We adopted from them and we named it as ISO, Indian Standard or International Organization for Standardization of all the rules and regulations. And they released the series 27000 series, and it was started by actually British by BS 7799, and then it was taken over by ISO, and it was introduced in 2005. And then NIST group of standard published the NIST from US. This is the NIST SP 800 group of standards. These are some standards for the framework for the series 27001, 002, 005, and 006. 001 is actually focusing on the information security management. Then comes the code of practice for information security management, and then comes the risk management, and it will give the requirements for bodies. There are so many. Each series is focusing on some areas of the risk protection. Some divisions ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടാക്കി ഇങ്ങനെ നീക്കി വെച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ these are the detailed what is the purpose, what are the key focus areas. So 27001 is for information security management system, and it is used for establishing, implementing, maintaining, improving ISMS, for establishment and for implementing and then maintaining, and then we need to improve the ISMS. That is why 27001 is established. And then it helps the organizations. What is its purpose? To protect the financial information, IPR, the data of the people and the information of the third party. And it also provides a certification framework, and it is actually focusing on the ISMS implementation, asset protection, and certification requires. Likewise, you can see 27002, 27005, 27006. And we move on to introducing various security policies that we have learned before, like what are the use policies, like what are the permitted and the prohibited use of the IT resources, what are the what are the permissions given while using a computer, and what all areas you can explore and all. And also it gives the prohibited areas, that is the risk areas which can cause harm to other people. So they have given some prohibition. So basically they have given an acceptable use policy. And then comes the access control policy. Who can access who controlling the access of the people, who can all access the system and the data, and under what conditions. And then comes the password policies, which establish the rule for creating and managing the password. Then we move on with the data classification, and then that we have studied the different types of data, like public data, internal data, confidential data, and restricted data. Based on the classification, different types of levels of protection are given to the data, and their purpose and what are the examples are given. Data classification, bank details are actually considered as confidential. Census areas, this data, that is considered as confidential. And other than the personal information, some informations which can be used as the um, some unimportant data which we need to pass and all needs lower level of confidentiality. Based on the type of the data, the access level or the rules and regulations may change. And these are the different types of data. Description and examples are given. Encryption keys, customer passwords are restricted data. Financial statements are confidential data. And some internal circulars are internal types of data. And company website content is a public data which is available to everyone. Then we see the security policy review process. Then first we need a policy development. We need to develop a policy based on the needs of the organization. Then we consider the risk, and then we consider the legal requirements, and then we draft some policies based on the need. Then we create a example is creating a new remote work security policy, and then we go for the approval based on the then the higher authorities will see, they will review the policy, and then they will approve that. Then the example is the CEO is signing off, it gives a sign on or approval for the updated password policy. That is a policy. What are the rules and regulations to be followed while creating a password and all. Then some for that some policies are developed, and then it is passed on to the top management to check on the how well it has been drafted and all. So based if it is for satisfying all the conditions, the CEO will give an approval. Then we move on to implementing it, and it is communicated with the employees and the software developing people and all, and they are given training and all, and then it is implemented using some coding and all. Coding part is coming there, and then cyber security training and awareness training are all given to the people while developing the policies and all. And then after implementation, the basic part, we need to monitor how well it is going, and if whether it is satisfying all the needs of the people, and whether it is effective while implemented. So for that we conduct the audit. Why, that is why we are conducting the audit, to how well the organization is going on based on a structure. So we need a review and all. That is why we are monitoring, and based on the review, we conduct the audit and all. Based on the review of the audit, we make changes and we try to improve the condition, or we try, at least we try to maintain the basic standards for implementing the policy. And why we need a continuous review? Because there will be some technological changes coming up based on the usage and the number of users in the risk and security based on the system on the network. There are some technologies changing every day, so we need some technological changes inserted, implemented on the system. So there will be so many emerging threats coming up, like the ransomware attack, and we need a updated response plan. So then we go for the legal requirements. We check for the legal requirements, because we need to check whether it is competing or complying with the new laws and regulations, and then we update this policy with the new privacy regulations to make it updated. And then if the organization is establishing, or if it is improving, or we are expanding the organization, there are some organization changes coming up, and we need to expand or restructure the organization. Like we need a new branch office is coming up, so we need to expand the security policy and the network policy. That is why we need for the continuous review. Then we move on to the IT Act 2000. It was enacted in 2000, May 17, and it was the primary cyber law of India, IT Act 2000. And it provides a legal recognition to the electronic transactions, and it facilitates the electronic commerce and also the e-governance. And why we need, what is the background study? When we studied, we understood that there are so many computers coming up, the internet usage is coming up, the digital communication has expanded and all, and we understood that the traditional laws were inadequate for the cyber crime, and we need some regulation for the cyberspace activity to control the activities, or we need a structure, or we need a disciplined usage of the internet. And it all this came up with the ancestral model that we learned earlier. In the beginning itself, we learned that there was an ancestral model law on e-commerce which came up in 1996. At that time, the IT Act was not there because internet usage was not that much using that time. Then in 2000, we moved on to the IT Act, and it was actually drafted in 1998. Then it was redrafted in 1999, and then we passed the Act in 2000, and India became the 12th country to adopt the cyber law. And we wanted to promote the IT industry, then we wanted to regulate the e-commerce, then we wanted to facilitate the e-governance, and we wanted at the same time, we wanted to prevent the cyber crime and protect the privacy of the internet usage. Then the electronic records, then communication, data interchange, digital transaction, everything was recognized under this, or all these were considered under the IT Act. And then what are the penalties for misuse? We need to discourage. Why we are introducing the penalty? For discouraging the cyber offense, and we need to give compensation for the victims, and then we need to fix the responsibility. That is why the penalty was applied. First, we want to discourage. If anyone is trying to do the cyber attack, they should have a thought that if something crosses the limits, there are laws and all, so we should be disciplined while using the internet. And then we need to, if something happens to any victim, uh, for his personal, uh, if something happens to the data, or in person, if something happens to people, then some relief actions or compensation should be provided. And people should be aware that if something happens to their data, they will get, there are laws which is protecting them. And the people should also, the last one is the responsibility. It is necessary to implant the responsibility feeling in every people while using the internet. It's not to um, overuse, or it's not to at o- overcome the limits of the internet. We should all be aware that there are some limitations, or there are some uh, lines for us to not to cross, to attack the people, or it should not be harmful to another people. We can use the internet, but while using it should not be harmful to other people. We should be aware of our responsibility. And civil liability is there, criminal liability is there. Civil liability is for compensation. We are providing the compensation for the loss or damage, and or we are getting a compensation for our loss or damage, or if we are making loss or damage to other people, we are responsible for giving the compensation. And the imprisonment or fine, we may be put to jail for the criminal liability, which it all depends on the seriousness. And it is also linked with the other laws like IPC, Indian Evidence Act, Reserve Bank Act, and Bankers Book Act. And there are some sections coming up. We will see what are the penalties for the given under different sections. And penalty for damage of the computer system comes under sections 43, and the people are liable to pay the damages. It may up to cost up to 1 crore to the affected party. We may be liable to give compensation up to 1 crore for the affected party. It is coming under section 43. And we will see what are the penalties, adjudication and appeals under the IT Act. And these are the prohibited act under section 43. Section 43 is actually supporting the damage to the computer system. Accessing a computer system, downloading the data from the computer system which are not legal, and introducing the computer virus to attack a system, or a contaminant to attack a system, or damaging the data or programs. These are the offenses. And these are the explanations. Then we move on to the examples. Hacker logs onto the company server without knowing the password legally. So that is actually accessing a system which is not allowed under section 43. And then we are copying a customer details which are namukku ഉപയോഗമില്ലാത്ത ആൾക്കാരുടെ. Then it comes under section 43. Then we are sending some email attachment which is containing a worm or virus to other people to attack them. It also is not allowed. It is prohibited under section 43. And if you are deleting some important files to make a system crash, it also comes under section 43. And when denying the access to the users or assisting the others to unauthorized access or charging services, or if you are deleting or altering the data, stealing, altering data, these are all coming under section 43. Then comes the section 43A. മറ്റേതെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ സിസ്റ്റത്തിനെ അറ്റാക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നതാണ്. 43A പറയുന്നത് പ്രൊട്ടക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ, ഡേറ്റ പ്രൊട്ടക്ട് ചെയ്യാനായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഫെയിൽഡ് ആയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് 5 കോടി വരെ up to 5 crores we are responsible for paying up to 5 crores. And it can cause fine up to 1,05,000 rupees or 5,000 per day or 10,000 per day, based on the seriousness of the data, section 44. And then comes the residuary penalty, which comes under section 45, and no specific penalty is provided. Compensation should be given, that is up to 25,000 rupees. And then comes the section 46, which is power to adjudicate. Adjudicating officer ne patti nammal നേരത്തെ പഠിപ്പിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു, principal officer. And the principal officer means the person whose data is യൂസിങ്. ഇപ്പൊ ഞാനാണ്, എൻ്റെ ഡേറ്റയാണ് നിങ്ങൾ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, അതാണ് നമ്മുടെ കൺസേൺ എങ്കിൽ അതാണ് നമ്മുടെ പ്രിൻസിപ്പൽ ഓഫീസർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ നമുക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഇത് സംഭവിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ who is appointed? The adjudicating officer is appointed by the central government to inquire into the contraventions caused for the principal officer. So that person must be an IT knowledgeable person, and he also should be able understandable regarding the legal or the judicial experience. And then accused person must give a reasonable opportunity for being heard. That is a principal officer. If the contravention is proved, the officer may impose penalty or award as power court. അയാൾക്കൊരു സിവിൽ കോർട്ട്, അയാൾക്കൊരു സുപ്രീം കോടതിയുടെ പവർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ സിവിൽ കോടതിയുടെ പവർ ഉണ്ടെന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. And they are that the proceedings are treated as a judicial proceeding under IPC. Section 47 means what are the factors to be taken into account by the adjudicating officer. That is, unfair gain ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ടോ, loss cost, how much loss is caused to the people, and if it is repetitive in nature, whether the offense is repeated or not. He will consider all these factors. And section 62 is appeal to the High Court. First, the appeal, any person may appeal to the High Court, and the appeal may be filled up. The appeal must be filed within the 60 days from the date of communication, and it may extend up to 60 days if sufficient, if any delay has occurred. അപ്പോൾ ആദ്യം അപ്പീൽ കൊടുക്കും, അതിനൊരു ടൈം ലൈൻ ഉണ്ടാവും, അതിന് എക്സ്റ്റൻഷൻ കൊടുക്കും 60 ദിവസത്തേക്ക്. ഇനി വാട്ട് ആർ ദ ഒഫൻസ് ആൻഡ് പെനാലിറ്റീസ്, എന്തൊക്കെയാണ് ഒഫൻസ് ആൻഡ് പെനാലിറ്റീസ്? സെക്ഷൻ 43 വന്നപ്പോൾ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടറിനെതിരെ 43A എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ ഡേറ്റയ്ക്കെതിരെയുള്ള പെനാലിറ്റി. അതുപോലെ 60 some penalities, offenses. സെക്ഷൻ 65 66 66ന്റെ CDF നമ്മുടെ കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ സോഴ്സ് കോഡ് ടാമ്പർ ചെയ്യുന്നതിനാണ് സെക്ഷൻ 65 എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. കമ്പ്യൂട്ടർ റിലേറ്റഡ് ഒഫൻസ് വന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ 66 ആണ്. 66C ആണ് ഐഡന്റിറ്റി തെഫ്റ്റ്, 66D ആണ് cheating by the personation using computer resources, and 66F is the cyber terrorism. Offense and penalties, computer related offense എന്ന് പറയുന്നതാണ് section 65, 66, 66C and D and F. 67A യും B യും വരുന്നത് transmitting obscene materials, then publishing sexually explicit content, then child sexual content, അങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ വരുന്നതാണ് 67-ൽ വരുന്നത്. 3 വർഷം മുതൽ 3 വർഷം and 5 lakh fine. Then 5 years and 10 lakh fine, and then 5 years and 10 lakh fine for 67B, 67A, 67, etc. These are the offenses and penalties. Then 67C, failure to preserve the data, then failure to assist the government, then unauthorized access and non-compliance with the cert in directions. About 3 years, 7 years, 10 years, up to 1 year imprisonment and 1 lakh fine may come up to for the 70B. These are some of the offenses and penalties for the mentioned sections. These are some sections and their offenses and what are the punishments. Then again it is repeated, and then comes the confidentiality and fraud. That is, Act is 72, 72A, 73, 74. 72 is coming under breach of confidentiality. 72A comes under disclosure of information, and 73 comes under publishing of false digital signature certificate. So publication of fraudulent purpose is 74. 2 years imprisonment, 1 lakh fine. Then these are the, again it is repeated. Then what are the offenses under IT Act? Section 65, tampering the computer science computer source document. Offense is actually destroying, deleting or altering the information of the computer. It may reduce the value or utility of the data, and it may cause wrongful loss or damage the data knowingly or intentionally. 3 years up to imprisonment or 2 lakh fine, or maybe both can be given as the punishment when you are tampering the data of the computer. Section 65. Then section 66 is actually hacking, destroying, deleting or altering the information which may reduce the value or the utility of the data. It may cause the wrongful loss or damage knowingly or intentionally. It may cause imprisonment up to 3 years or fine up to 2 lakh rupees or both. Then comes the section 66A, sending offensive messages, IT Act 2008. Sending false or offensive messages using computer resources may be intended to cause annoyance, inconvenience, or hatred or intimidation. Imprisonment up to 3 years. എല്ലാം 3 yearsലേക്കുള്ളതാണ്. Section 66B, 66C, 66DE, F, cyber terrorism. Then comes the 67, publishing of obscene materials in the electronic form. നമ്മൾ നേരത്തെ നോക്കിയായിരുന്നല്ലോ, ചൈൽഡ് ആക്ടും കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ. Then comes the Right to Information Act in 2005. Right to Information Act, why we it introduced, what are the key features? That is the landmark legislation. It promotes the transparency, accountability and openness. It may empower the citizen, and it may strengthen democracy. 15 June 2005 was enacted and came into force on October 12, 2005, the same year itself. And it is actually applicable to all throughout the India except Kashmir. Kashmir has a separate act. What are the objectives of RTI Act, Right to Information Act? Transparency, accountability, reduce corruption, and it empower the citizen with the access of information, the right to access the information, and then strengthen the democratic governments. It may apply all the government, central government, state government, local government, public sectors, government aided NGOs. And it may mean any material, records, circulars or electronic data or contracts or emails, etc. And according to the public authority, it is established by the constitution and owned by the parliament. And it may, every citizen has the right to inspect the data of the government, take notes or extract or certified copies, and they have the right to receive the information within the prescribed time, and they have the right to obtain the information in the electronic form. And it is applicable only to the Indian citizen. This is all applicable to the Indian citizen. And the public authorities are obligated to maintain the records properly and to computerize the records for the easy access, appoint the public information officers, and publish the information proactively. Public information officer is actually responsible for providing the information, and they must have public information officer എന്ന് പറയുന്ന information provide ചെയ്യാനുള്ള ഒരാളാണ്. And it must assist the applicants, and they should also have their responsibilities to treat the people well, and they can be penalized for non-compliance. If they are not protecting them, they can also be scrutinized. And what are the നോർമൽ ലിമിറ്റ്സ്, ടൈം ലിമിറ്റ്സ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് 30 days ആണ്. ആൻഡ് ഇറ്റ് മേ കം അപ് ടു 35 days ആൻഡ് 48 hours. അർജന്റ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ആണെങ്കിൽ 48 hours-നുള്ളിൽ ഡേറ്റ ട്രാൻസ്ഫർ ടു അനദർ അതോറിറ്റി. ലൈഫ് ഓർ ലിബർട്ടി കൺസേൺ ആണെങ്കിൽ ഡേയ്സ് ആൻഡ് ടൈംസ് മാറിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കും ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ നമുക്ക് എടുക്കാനുള്ള സാധനം. എക്സംഷൻ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് സെക്ഷൻ 8 ആണ്. നാഷണൽ സെക്യൂരിറ്റി സോവറിറ്റി, സ്റ്റേറ്റ് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ്, സേഫ് ഗാർഡ്സ്. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ ചില ഡേറ്റ, ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മളത് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്, ചില ഡേറ്റ നമ്മൾ കൊടുക്കാൻ ബാധ്യസ്ഥരാണ്, പക്ഷെ ചില റൂള് കാരണം നമുക്കത് കൊടുക്കാൻ പറ്റിയെന്ന് വരില്ല. നമ്മൾ ഇടയ്ക്ക് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ അത് സംസാരിച്ചതാണ്. അതാണ് എക്സെപ്ഷൻസിന്റെ അടിയിൽ വരുന്നത്. ഫ്രം ഡിസ്ക്ലോഷർ. ദെൻ പാർഷ്യൽ ഡിസ്ക്ലോഷർ. ഇഫ് പാർട്ട് ഓഫ് ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ is exempted, it may be exemption information may severed, or it must be non-exemption portion must be disclosed. First appeal, second appeal ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. First appeal 30 days ആണ്. Second appeal എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് 90 days ആണ്. Then there are some information commissions, Central Information Commission, State Information Commission, based on the central and state data. And then penalties comes under section 20. If the people is refused to receive the RTI application, if there is any delay coming up, if they provide a false information, and if it is in RTI Act, information e-governance initiative, digital transparency 2008-നകത്ത് വരുമ്പം ആക്ട് 2000-നെ ഒന്നും കൂടെ അപ്ഡേറ്റ് ചെയ്തതാണ് 2008-ന്റെ അടിയിൽ വരുന്നത്. സോ ഇറ്റ് സ്ട്രെങ്തൻസ് ലീഗൽ പ്രൊവിഷൻസ്. Then technological advancement was there, cyber crime was increased, e-commerce was growing, and then there was need for data protection, and so it was passed in 2008 and it came to force in 2009. IT Act റിവൈസ് ചെയ്തു. ഇതൊക്കെയാണ് പറഞ്ഞ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ തന്നെയാണ്. ലീഗൽ ക്ലാരിറ്റി അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെ വന്നു. Then what is the significance? Data privacy protection, regulate the intermediary. Then cyber terrorism was addressed. Then digital economy was supported, and it actually strengthened the cyber law framework in India. അതിനകത്താണ് 43, 66, 67, 69, 72 sections are coming up. And it strengthens the cyber law, protects the data, regulates ഇതൊക്കെ നമ്മൾ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ കാര്യങ്ങളൊക്കെയാണ്.